Deadly Harpoon. The story begins in 1999 when P.D. Shelbourne walks into a pawn shop looking nervous and anxious. He's carrying a strange toy, a monkey that plays the drums, and he wants to get rid of it as quickly as possible. He barely notices, but he's covered in blood, something he only realizes when the shop owner points it out. Oddly, P.D. doesn't seem to care, explaining that the blood isn't his. He just wants to get rid of the toy because his kids don't like it. The shop owner, always strict about his rules, tells him that he doesn't take returns on children's toys, especially when they are broken. P.D. tries to explain that the monkey is cursed, but he's interrupted by something impossible to ignore. The toy starts playing its creepy beat, hitting the drumsticks on its own. That's when the tragedy happens. A rat, drawn by the noise, bites through a wire that's holding a harpoon, which fires without warning. The harpoon shoots straight through the shop owner, rips out his intestines, and leaves him dying in agony. The scene is fast, brutal, and shocking. Petey, realizing how serious the situation is, runs to grab a flamethrower, hoping to destroy the monkey once and for all. But the first lesson becomes clear: the toy isn't just a toy. It has a will of its own. It's unpredictable and deadly, and every move it makes can trigger disaster. The Restaurant. When Hal and Bill, who are twin brothers, were still just two curious boys rummaging through their father's old stuff, they came across something that at first glance looked like just another toy forgotten by time. But we already know what that monkey is capable of. The thing had a strange, glassy stare and a body covered in dust, but the kids found it funny. They laughed, pressed the button, and kept the toy as if it were some kind of funny relic, without realizing the nightmare they were about to unleash. The next day, their babysitter Annie took the brothers out for dinner, trying to give them a calm, happy day. But that damned monkey went along. In the middle of the restaurant, while Annie was watching the chef flirt playfully, the monkey started again. That metallic, rhythmic drumming echoed through the place. Within seconds, the atmosphere changed completely. Inside the kitchen, the chef, distracted, started cutting meat with too much force. He turned to look at Annie, and in one quick motion, the blade sliced across his neck. A clean hit, a sound that froze the air, and suddenly, she turns her head, and we still don't know what just happened. Then the blood starts dripping down her neck, and Annie's head falls onto the grill. Hal and Bill were terrified. They couldn't understand how something like that could have happened, but one thought started forming in their minds: the monkey. In the days that followed, Annie's funeral was one of the saddest moments of the boys' lives. No one could really explain what had happened, and they didn't have the courage to tell anyone what they had actually seen. From that moment on, Hal and Bill started to realize that there was something very wrong with that toy. It wasn't just some old toy. It was a kind of death omen. Mother's blood? The relationship between Hal and Bill starts to become complicated. Hal was always shy and sensitive, while Bill was more aggressive and provoking, often bullying his own brother. One day, still as kids, Hal, trying to protect himself from his brother's teasing, winds up the toy and wishes that the monkey would kill Bill.
I wish Bill was dead.
At that exact moment, Bill arrives home and finds their mother, Lois, cooking in the kitchen. The monkey, silent until now, starts to play its dark, eerie rhythm. Within seconds, Lois starts bleeding all over her body, with no apparent explanation, until she collapses on the floor and dies. At their mother's funeral, the doctor tells the boys that Lois suffered a boomerang aneurysm, but Hal knows the truth. It was the monkey that killed her. He feels powerless, and the trauma of that experience marks both brothers for life. The event not only leaves Hal and Bill motherless, but also proves that the toy can't be controlled or predicted. It acts whenever it wants and chooses its victims at random. Even after the funeral, the boys start to realize that the monkey is more than just an ordinary toy. It's a malevolent presence that will keep haunting them. Hal becomes deeply scarred by what happened and starts having nightmares about his mother. Dreams that start off calm and familiar but always end the same way, with his mother dying again, blood streaming from her eyes. It's clear that the memory has traumatized him deeply. Tragic camping. After their mother's death, Hal and Bill are sent to live with their Uncle Chip and Aunt Ida. They try to bring some normality back into the boys' lives, but the drumming monkey keeps following them, silent and dangerous. Hal tries to destroy the toy but finds it filled with blood inside, and later it reappears completely intact. During a backyard camping night, the presence of the toy starts causing tension. Bill, not believing that the monkey could really cause deaths or tragedies, winds it up despite Hal begging him not to. Moments later, their uncle is killed in a horrific way, trampled by several horses while still inside his sleeping bag. The boys throw the toy into a well, believing they finally contained it. The return of the toy. Years go by and Aunt Ida now lives alone in the old family house, but her peace is only an illusion. One night, she senses that someone is inside the house and carefully walks down to the basement holding a gun. At first, she finds nothing, but the tension builds. The silence is heavy, and every small sound feels amplified. Ida goes back upstairs, relieved she didn't see anything, but the danger is still there. As she walks up the stairs, one of the steps breaks, and she falls onto several cardboard boxes filled with old stuff. Among those things are some fishing hooks that get tangled in her face. With her face full of hooks, she goes to the bathroom and removes them one by one. Then she applies alcohol to clean the wounds, thinking everything everything will be fine, but it won't. She suddenly smells gas leaking and goes to check. When she leans in, the stove nearby turns on by itself. Flames quickly engulf her head, setting her on fire in a horrifying way. Still trying to escape, Ida runs through the hallway in panic, but crashes into a sharp wooden sign outside the house. The impact is fatal. The pool. 25 years after the traumatic events of his youth, Hal lives isolated and consumed by paranoia. His distance extends to his family, including his son Petey, who is about to be legally adopted by his mother's new family, cutting Hal out of the boy's life completely. Now, Hal carries the weight of the past alone, without emotional support or family connection. Everything changes when he hears the news of Aunt Ida's death. Soon after, his brother Bill calls him for the first time in 5 years. He shares his suspicion that the monkey, the old object of so many tragedies, is causing trouble again. Bill insists that Hal go to Ida's old house to retrieve the cursed toy, reigniting fears that Hal thought he had left behind. The tension rises when Hal witnesses something unexplainable at the hotel where he's staying. A woman dies after the swimming pool becomes electrified when an air conditioner falls from the ceiling, causing a short circuit. As she tries to step into the water, she's electrocuted and torn apart. This event confirms to Hal that the curse connected to the monkey is still active. Between fear, old trauma, and a sense of urgency, Hal realizes he must confront his past, face the threat he thought had ended decades ago. Treacherous shotgun. After Aunt Ida's death, the family house goes through the selling process, and several people visit the place to pick out objects and belongings. Taking care of everything is Barbara, a real estate agent responsible for organizing the removal of items and showing the property to Hal. She walks through the corridors of the house, checking the furniture and cabinets. There, she explains to him that the neighbors also died in very strange ways after Ida's death. Even with the deaths, neither Barbara nor anyone else around noticed that all those accidental deaths could somehow be connected. Barbara approaches an old wardrobe. She tries to open it to check what's inside. Suddenly, without warning, a shotgun that was stored on the top shelf of the wardrobe falls down. The impact causes the weapon to fire immediately. The bullet hits Barbara fatally, exploding and killing her instantly on the spot. The scene is quick and violent. Hal, who is nearby, can't react in time. The wasps. Hal and Petey discover that Bill not only lives in town, but also keeps the monkey under his control. Bill suspected that their mother's death was caused by Hal, who used the monkey to try to kill him, and now he wants revenge. To help him, Bill hired Ricky, a local man obsessed with the toy, to recover it. Curiously, the monkey keeps killing random people, leaving Hal desperate and afraid for his son's safety. Hal begs Bill to stop the deadly sequence, but Bill imposes cruel conditions. He promises to stop only if Petey takes on the task of winding the key forever. If Hal refuses, Bill threatens to keep winding the key until Hal dies, not caring how many victims will appear along the way. Bill's power and psychological control increase Hal's feeling of helplessness in the face of the situation. The situation intensifies when Ricky, completely obsessed with the monkey, forces Petey at gunpoint to retrieve the toy directly from Bill's house. Following the instructions, Petey winds the key. Fate intervenes violently. A swarm of wasps attacks and kills Ricky. The wasps immediately fly out, attacking him aggressively. He doesn't even have time to protect himself. It all happens too fast. He can't get rid of the insects that sting his face, entering his eyes, mouth, and other sensitive parts of his head. The attack is fast and deadly. Each movement only attracts more insects, and within minutes, he is completely overrun by the swarm. Ricky's face is totally destroyed by the multiple wasp stings. His death is instantaneous due to the number of wounds and the severity of the attack. The incident leaves Hal and Petey shocked, watching from afar, while Bill remains focused on his own goals with the monkey. Aerial chaos. At the most critical point of the movie, Bill insists on using the drumming monkey to try to kill Hal, who, together with Petey, tries to stop him, but he is determined. The toy starts playing more and more. The intense and rhythmic sound triggers an unpredictable chain reaction while everyone is focused on the conflict. The monkey's beat is about to cause another tragedy, this time an even bigger one. A plane flying overhead begins to have problems. The pilot loses control and the aircraft falls in a chaotic spiral over the city. The plane crashes almost right on top of Hal, Petey, and Bill. Some of the bodies inside are thrown out, making the scene even more terrifying. The city turns into a complete scene of destruction, with streets covered in smoke, burning vehicles, and desperate people unable to understand the chaos that has taken over the city. Final ball. After all the destruction caused by the monkey, Hal and Bill finally have a moment of reconciliation. They talk briefly, trying to understand each other and overcome the traumas of the past. For a few seconds, it seems that the tension between them has eased, and Hal feels that he can finally connect with his brother after years of distance and tragedy. But the monkey, always unpredictable, still isn't done. While the brothers are close, the toy hits its drumsticks again, and another death is about to happen. But this time, it's karma. A bowling ball, positioned strategically, almost like a trap, is released precisely, rolling quickly toward Bill. Bill doesn't have time to react. The ball hits his head with devastating force. He falls immediately, unable to defend himself or dodge. The force of the impact is instant and fatal, ending the life of Hal's older brother. The tragedy happens in seconds, with no chance of intervention, showing that the monkey remains deadly even when everyone believes the worst is over. Petey and Hal watch in shock, witnessing Bill's sudden and absurd death death, which happens right after the moment of reconciliation. The monkey remains still after its last act, as if it had completed its final goal. The scene marks the end of the direct sequence of deaths caused by the toy, leaving Hal and Petey as survivors amid the destruction and chaos caused throughout the entire movie. Apocalyptic traffic. Hal and Petey walk through the now devastated city. Both seem to accept the weight of the fate that has fallen into their hands, to take care of the deadly toy and make sure the key never causes destruction again. As they move forward, a pale man with black eyes appears riding a horse, a figure seen as the Pale Rider, passing by them in an almost supernatural way. Hal nods his head to the rider. The silent encounter conveys a sense of omen, showing that the monkey still attracts mysterious forces around it. In the middle of this heavy atmosphere, Hal decides to reconnect with his son in a simple human way. He suggests that they dance, something Lois always appreciated. Petey agrees. Hal and Petey walk away, and shortly after, a bus full of cheerleaders drives by. They're all excited, their heads sticking out the windows. But to end everything, a truck drives right next to them. The impact is massive. The bus and the truck collide at full force, killing all the occupants instantly, showing that the evil still hasn't been contained. And what did you think of the monkey? What do you want to see next? Go ahead and watch this video about movies where evil wins in the end. See you there.